We started 2024 at 1,226.6 units profit and ended the year just yesterday at 1,458.8 units profit. So for horse racing in 2024, we made 232 units in this video. I'm going to break down what those 12 months look like, how we got there, and go through some lessons and takeaways of what we learned and what we can use moving forward to make it 5 straight profitable years of horse racing with investor.bet. So this video is going to be really valuable, whether you've been a member during this time, you're a current member, or you're considering being a member in the future. I'm going to break down like what we do, why it works, and why it's consistently profitable every year and majority of months. You can see we've had 39 months now, and only 2 of those months have been negative months. They both came this year, in fact, in April and in July. So this year, across those 12 months, we had 10 profitable months and 2 losing months. So a minus 22 unit month in April and then a half unit losing month. But overall, throughout the course of the year, we average 19.3 units every single month. So a tick under 20 units. So for a $50 bettor, 20 units a month, that's $1,000 every single month. I'm going to break it down, dive deeper, and go through these overall results. With all the results, I have them broken down, not only like yearly, monthly, but also weekly. So you'll notice like a few trends through this. So we ended the year. So since August, we've only had 3 losing weeks of our past 20. So that makes it 17 of the last 20 weeks have ended in profit. And we had a strong finish to the year with 8 straight winning weeks. And there have been periods, where we've gone on those big runs. So you can see from August in 2023 through to early February this year, we won 26 of 27 weeks. There was another big period up here in from the start of last year through to the middle of the year where we won the first 25 or almost the first 25 weeks of the year. So with looking at these results, the one thing that I really, really want to highlight is when you look at the profit on turnover. So up here, you got your total profit on turnover, that's 26.7%. And with all these units profit, the key here is is not about having big wins. One thing is when we break down, these are the biggest winning horse bet each month. So for each month of this year, these were the most profit we made on a single runner. And you'll notice the biggest win from a single runner was in May. Watergoss at plus 5.6 units. That's the most we got from a single horse bet this year. Next best via Sestina at $4, 4+4.5 units in that race. Majority of the other months, the biggest win was in the threes range. So there's no like, oh, we picked up 20 units from a single bet here, or 25 units, 30 units, backing a big roughie. And this one thing that I feel like is really important, not only for the overall results, but it's about being very, very consistent, not being reliant on any one thing. So consistently, each month, each week, building on the profits, not trying to chase the big wins and going down that wrong track of, trying to get a big win to cover everything else. Like it's not that about that at all. And with these results as well, it's not reliant on, you having to make sure you got that one bet on in order to get the same results as everyone else. Like a lot of people actually get better results than the bets that I post because with all the plays that I post, which you can see, like go through and look at them through here on the website. They're all posted the day before race day. So you pretty much have around 12 to 24, sometimes even slightly more hours between when you get the bets and what bets to put on, how much to put on them to when that race is actually running. During that time, the odds are always adjusting, they're always moving around. So you have opportunities if that horse does drift, then you can grab better odds. And for all the bets that we have, generally over the years, 70% of bets shorten, 30% of bets drift. So there's that 30% every time, every year where you can, get better odds. And, some of those ones that shorten also drift out first and then come back in. There's always lots of movement in the market. But with the results, like you want to make sure you can follow consistently, and that's why I set it up like this. So it's not about, just getting on a certain bet, and that's what's going to be the make or break. It's all the bets add up. And over the course of the year, we had 1,756 bets. Those were our most profitable ones. But across the year, we with the outlay, it wasn't actually that much more than the 1756. So we're keeping a lot of the bets in that 1 to 2 unit range. The reason being is because for long-term profitability, you don't want to be risking 5, 10. Sometimes I see people recommending more on a single bet, especially on horse racing. That's a very, very different strategy that doesn't work for a lot of people and causes you to end up going down this process of chasing and creating a massive disparity between your bet sizes. What you want to do is keep your bet sizes very, very straightforward and similar the entire time. And only at certain milestones do you increase your uh, unit staking. And for me, a lot of the time, pretty much every single bet is between either 1.5, or 2 units based of a 100 unit bankroll. So majority of the time, you're only risking 1% of your total bankroll. And one thing that's really important to note out, you might look at this month in April and just, single that one out and you go, oh, it was down 22 units. At that stage, we're up 1,326 units from the beginning, but wherever you joined, you might have joined here, you might have been up 300 units. But you just look at it from the beginning, this month was only minus 1.6% of the overall profit we've made. So if you look at the overall profit, our worst ever month only minus our overall profit by 1.6%. So in the overall big scheme of things, long term, it made such an insignificant difference. Now, going through some of the other results. So, overall, the entire time, if you've been following with a $25 unit size, that's $36,470 all time. It breaks down to be $935 a month. In 2024, looking at this year, a $25 bettor made $5,803. $50 bettor, you can see the overall numbers there, but in 2024, it was $11,606. For a $100 bettor, it was 23,215. For a $150 bettor, it was $34,822. And you guys can calculate that for yourself, depending on what your unit size is, whether it's 10, 20, 30. Regardless, just multiply that number, your unit size, by 232. That was our result this year. Might look at this as well and see, well, in 2023, you made 606.5 units. How in 2024? How is it down to 232? Well, there are a number of things that have contributed to that. Firstly, in 2023, we were winning just over 40% of our bets. So for every 10 bets we put on, just over 4 of them would win on average. In 2024, that number was down to 35%. So 3.5 out of every 10, if you want to look at it like that. So that slight difference. And the reason being is our percentage of runners finishing second was significantly higher in 2024 than it was in 2023. And a lot of the time, those numbers, like just an extra 20 wins in compared to seconds, can be the difference in close to 100 units profit. So those add up very, very quickly. And then the other main thing that contributed to the overall results was, if you watched any of my videos previously, you'll know that on a Saturday, or you've been a member, on a Saturday, we have a strategy where we put together 3 horses and multi them together as one selection as part of our Saturday racing card. And in 2024, we had 48 multis, so almost one a week. There are a few weeks that we didn't have one. And during that time, we only had 2 wins, and that's because of those 19 of them, 2 of the 3 legs won. So, close on a lot of them. And obviously, that's not ideal, and that's not what I'm looking for. And with the multi selections, and this was the first year that that's actually happened, where if you're putting the multis on, you didn't finish in profit based on the multis alone over the course of 2024. But just because it wasn't, super profitable this year doesn't mean that it's something I'll take away, because doing this over 10 years, the multi-strategy works extremely, extremely well. And it's one of the keys to having, 600 unit years, 400, 500 unit years consistently. And, just because it didn't work this year doesn't mean that it's not going to be the same again next year. In 2023, so this year, we had 45 multis, so three less than we had in 2024. And of those 45, seven of them won for 108 units profit. So it's 45 unit outlay, so 240% profit on turnover. So we, pretty much 2.5 times our stakes on those multis, even though we only had seven of the 45 win even last year. So that is part of the major difference between the two and the reason why multis, have been a big contributor to our success. And, if you've been watching some betting content, you've seen some videos around, you're going to hear people tell you, don't do multis, they're the worst thing ever, blah, 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 and give you the spiel of why, they don't work and you're going to lose by doing them. Obviously, if you look at everything on a super basic level and, you don't break it down of, what works, what doesn't, and actually track the numbers, then you're going to look at it and be like, oh yeah, multis don't work. The betting companies want you to place multi-bets. However, there is ways where you can be profitable and be smart with multis. And the way you do that, I'll break it down for you right now, is any selection that you put in a multi, you want it to be a selection that is over the odds or there's more value in that price than you really think it should be, or it's over the true odds. There's positive expected value in that price. There's a lot of ways to explain it, but pretty much with my overall horse racing strategy is I'm always looking for runners that are greater odds than I think they should be. So, if something's priced $2.50 and I think it should be $2, then it's likely a bet. If it's priced $3 and I think it should be $2.50, then it's likely going to be a bet. However, sometimes, or quite a lot of the time, there's horses priced at $3, but I think they should be a $4 chance. So in that case, I'm not going to bet it. But with the multis, what I do is I combine selections that are over the price that I think they should be. So I'll take three of those runners that are $3 and, all three, just for ease of example, I think should be $2.50 and multi them together. So I've got 3 by 3 by 3 and I think the true odds of that should be 2.5 by 2.5 by 2.5. So I'm actually constantly exemplifying or increasing the value of the selections by combining them together. But we'll also take them singly as well because we're not reliant on the multis to be profitable. But when you combine selections that are over the odds, you're actually increasing the value of those selections by doing that. Where most people go wrong with multis is firstly they combine tons of legs. So, they'll have a 5 leg, a 7 leg, a 10, 15. I see some crazy ones like 40 legs or as many as you can do. And firstly, that's the big mistake. I've tested it over the years and three has proven to be the ideal number. As soon as I go into, going four selections, that's where the results drop off. And by doing two selections, that can work, but it doesn't quite get the same number of results as combining three. So I found that to be the sweet spot. That's the reason that I do it like that. And then the second reason is that people, mess up and go down the wrong track with multis is they're doing the exact opposite of what I explained, where they're combining selections that are actually under the odds, thinking, well, this thing's $1.50, it has to win. Oh, here's another one. This is $2. That probably should win. It's a 50-50. And I'll add in this another $1.75 one that gets me about a $5 or $6 multi. That's good. That should win. All three of those are pretty sure. But when you look at the true odds of those runners, they all probably could be over what the current odds available are because a lot of the time, the current odds available are too short. And that is one thing that I did notice a lot with this year is there were a number of runners, especially in Sydney and Melbourne, where early odds, the betting companies were putting up short prices on those runners, and you were having to, wait a little bit to get a slightly better price. And they'd put them up bigger odds early and then wait for people to bet it. And then they could push it back out because they've already laid it at a shorter price. So that's a little bit of a trend I've noticed, especially in the Metro, Sydney, and Melbourne. And for me personally, I only focus on your metro racing. So we're betting Wednesdays and Saturdays every week. And also if there's metro racing on a Friday or public holidays. Those are the meetings that we're focused on. Personally, I prefer those because I find those horses to be a lot more consistent and run true to their form, as opposed to, going out more so into the provincials and the country meetings. Obviously, there are angles you can find there, but the form is a lot more inconsistent. So that's why I focus on the metro racing as a whole. For me, like looking overall at the year, breaking it down into the carnivals. So summer carnival in 2024, which effectively was January at the start of the year, and February, and then December. Those 3 months combined give us 110.4 units. Autumn, so March through to May, that was 25.2 units. So we're still, 25 units up through the autumn carnival. And on reflection, because one thing I recommend you guys do is always debrief and review all your bets on a weekly basis and on a monthly basis. And during this period, especially in April, that's like kind of the main part of the autumn carnival. And personally, looking back, I was a little bit too aggressive, particularly on one day, just overall, but a little bit too aggressive on the big races with big fields. And that's one of the things that I, try to avoid doing is when you have big field sizes, your 14, 16, 18 plus horse fields, to be very conservative and careful in those kind of races. And during that period, I was a little bit too aggressive. And it backfires. So you always want to, just find good opportunities and don't just because it's a Group 1 race and you've probably seen me do videos talking about it previously where just because it's a Group 1 race, just because it's the Melbourne Cup, doesn't mean you need to have your biggest bet or anything like that. So that's one of my key takeaways from that little period. Then through June, July, August, through the winter, we're 49.5 units profit. And then September, October, November. So through the spring, I'll already recapped this in another video, but it's 49.45 units. Interestingly, the summer, so your January and January, February, and December, those were my combined lowest outlay of a quarter or of a carnival, and it was my biggest profit. So interestingly, like the smallest outlay turned out to be the biggest profit during that period of time, and it was considerably like the biggest profit. It was 60 units more than any of the other quarters. So that's the period we're in right now. We've got January and February coming up at the start of 2025. And I really like the summer because we got majority of the time dry tracks for most states, which for me, I believe are lends itself to a lot more fair racing. Some of the other things that I want to quickly touch on is when you look through, when I spoke about the staking, you'll notice like all these months, it's very, very similar, our total outlay. And if you go right on back, there's only a few months here and there that are slightly higher or slightly lower, like September last year at 185. That's, I think, the highest outlay. But September, obviously, a pretty busy month for horse racing. And the only times it kind of veers up, we'll just quickly check what the overall average is. The average is 137. So the only time it really veers up too high from that is when there's more racing on. So during the summer or during the autumn and spring carnivals, majority of the other months are around that 140 kind of range to 150. So the reason why I do that is because what you want to do is stick to a disciplined schedule. So as I said, I bet every Wednesday and Saturday on racing and any other metro meetings. And I only stick to that. I'm not just, waking up one day and being like, oh, well, let me check what races are on today. Oh, they're racing at Warrnambool, they're racing at, Newcastle or something, and be like, well, let me have a look through and see if I can find a bet. I already have pre-planned going into the month. I already have the schedule of like, these are the days that I'm going to bet. And then I pre-plan prior when I'm doing the researching. So I dedicate time leading up to those races, the few days prior, to go through, break down those races and decide what I'm betting. I'm not betting, 5 minutes before the race, trying to decide, oh, this one's shortened, so I'm going to quickly put that bet on. No, a lot of people do that strategy, and you can find bets doing that, but over the long term, you're going to end up losing money because you're making a lot of rushed and impulsive decisions, which is not what you want to be doing when it comes to your betting. So We're, doing our research early. We're locking in the bets that we want to have and then placing those bets, aiming to get the best possible odds and not making those impulsive decisions that can happen. When you've got up in the corner of the screen there, the countdown, they're loading the horses into the gates. You need to quickly get a bet on. And, you're in a rush. So you just quickly find the first one you see that looks the best, or you see, the jockey on it, or you see the one last start, or somebody on the TV is tipping it, all those things that can then influence your decision. You want to be making your decisions from a least influence place as possible. So those last few minutes, you got so many things coming at you, influencing the decision that you're going to make, which is not the place that you want to be in. And then when it comes to the discipline, sticking to the staking. So coming back to like how the every months are consistent. The reason being is because we're sticking to that staking strategy, not betting more than 2 units. And the reason we do that is so that everyone can easily follow along with their bankroll. Nobody, no matter what time you come in, whether you join, today, next week, next month, or you joined 6 months ago, that factor doesn't change. So regardless where you're at, you're going to come in sticking to that same system. And when I spoke earlier about people doing, 5 and 10 units and, these 20 unit bets, this kind of stuff, a lot of that is just so that when they show you their results and you look at this, the number of units profit looks way more impressive. Like I could easily just 10x each of these numbers. Instead of betting 1 unit, I'm betting 10 units and all these numbers 10x. So instead of in October 2021, we made 55 units. In 10x it, we made 550 units. And now that just sounds so much better. But that's not what it's about. It's about, having a strategy you can stick to. And, if you're betting $10 or 10 units on a single bet, then you can't be working off a 100 unit bankroll. You need now a 500, or more so, you really need 1,000 unit bankroll. 500 would be like the absolute minimum, just kind of to get like you start if you're working on a really small bankroll. That's the only time I'd recommend that. You really should be working from $1,000 bankroll if you're doing 10 unit bets, because you want to keep it at the percentage. The percentage is key, like 1%, 1.5%, 2% of your total bankroll on a stake. Obviously, you could bet high, like majority of months, almost every month is profitable. So, there is, that perceived like, well, I could just do more and then make more. But the purpose of betting and doing this to be profitable is to consistently be profitable long term and not try and chase like a big win in a single month. So that's why we do it. The other thing I recommend everyone do, for if you haven't already been doing it, is track every single bet that you're putting on. Especially, actually, it doesn't matter whether you what you're betting on. Keep track of all your bets and don't just like leave it and then I'll put it in at the end of the month and then I'll go through and track everything that I've done. Like you want to be tracking every day that you bet, right? Have those selections written down into a spreadsheet. If you want the dashboard, send me a message and I can get it to you to be able to track all your bets. But every day you bet, track everything you bet that day so you're keeping a record. It's very easy, especially if you're betting sports every day, to let, 3 or 4 days go by and, not keep up with your tracking. You're just kind of in the flow of betting and you're busy. But it's something really, really important to stay like on track with what you're doing. So definitely, if you don't have some way to track, let me know and I can get you a dashboard to be able to track it. But that is everything for the review of 2024, 232 units on racing. So if you were, the 100 unit better during 2024, that's $23,215. Now, we are at the end of December now, so going into the new year. Remember, for horse racing, we have a 100 unit yearly profit guarantee. So no matter when you join, if you join and stay as a member for a year, then you're backed by 100 units profit guarantee. So no matter what, you make 100 units profit, or you get an entire next following year completely free. Also, for the summer carnival, which is December, January, and February, we currently have a promotion running where if we don't make 50 units profit, then you get another 3 months free. So that's for all new members joining before December 31st. So there's a couple of days left to join as being part of that. I put that offer out at the beginning of December. Currently, we're at 33 units so far through December. So still 17 units to go to get to that 50, but I definitely want to exceed that. Looking through previous years, January 2022, we did 33 units. January 2023, we did 37, and January this year we did 45. So it's kind of been building a little bit. So that's positive going into January, and then February we did 49 and a half, 45 and a half, and 31.6. So across those 2 months, we've kind of been averaging 70 to 80 units across the January and February. So, that's positive as terms of like, could we push towards 100 units for the summer carnival? Also, during the summer, like we have a lot more meetings. There's the public holidays, so we're betting 1st of January, which is a Wednesday. So unfortunately, we don't get the extra meeting this week. But there will be a lot more Friday night meetings leading up to the start of the football season as well. So lots of race opportunities. If you want to learn more, there's a video on the website. I'll put the link in the description with more details about the overall strategies. Appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this video was insightful, gave you some takeaways that you can implement to make 2025 a super profitable year betting on horse racing for you.